Hello, and a very warm welcome to Millennials Gone Circular, the podcast that's helping you make circularity a reality. My name is Caitlyn Said, and I'm the founder of The Waste Not Spot and incredibly passionate about mainstreaming sustainability. To do this, I've rounded up two friends and legendary sustainability experts, Angelica and Said, who will be with us for the next 12 months. Millennials Gone Circular is for anyone, no matter where they are on their sustainability journey, whether you're just starting out or you're already working in the field. We're here to make you feel confident in your knowledge and understanding of global sustainability, and to make you feel empowered to take action in your own corner of the globe. No matter what you do or where you live, there's something for everyone. We have a Facebook and LinkedIn community group where you can share your experiences, successes, and ask your burning questions. You can also find us on Instagram for motivation and inspiration. And we've also got a newsletter that will wrap up everything we talk about on the show and send it straight to your inbox. But enough of that for now. A huge thank you and the warmest welcome to you all. This is episode 1. This is Millennials Gone Circular. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Said.
Hello.
Angelica.
Hi, Caitlyn. Hi, Said. How are you guys?
Amazing.
How are
It's
you?
great. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Same. First episode. Woo! Well, today we might as well get kind of stuck into it. Today is episode 1. Maybe we just start off by introducing ourselves. I mean, we're all from very different backgrounds and kind of ended up in a similar place. So maybe Angelica, do you want to talk a little bit about your background and how we're here?
Sure. I mean, I think our story could be very interesting for many people around there, because I feel like when you hear about this kind of sustainability events, as Caitlyn said, we come from very different places, but we met each other in the same place, which could be fated, could be just since we are in more or less the same topic, we end up in the same place also. Causality, you can call it. But anyways, I started with sustainability quite long ago. I'm an environmental engineer, and then I decided to study environmental analysis, carbon and water footprint, which is quite related also to the same topics, how to evaluate the carbon footprint of companies, events, and so on. Environmental analysis is basically LCA, which is life cycle assessment or life cycle analysis. So my passion for sustainability started quite long ago. And as we were discussing at some point when we were meeting each other, I think when you hear about sustainability, you just take up the modern concepts, the things that are quite new and in the new world, let's put it like that, in the very new and technological world. But then when you start reflecting about it, you just realize that there are many things we don't know where these concepts came from. So I think that's where everything started for me. But yeah, I've worked in Colombia, in Spain a little bit, and now I've been 2 years almost working here in Sweden. I currently live in Sweden, in Malmo, which is the southern part of Sweden. So it's almost the border with Denmark, with Copenhagen. So it's a very nice place.
I have a question. What was your glass shattering moment? I always think back to How I Met Your Mother, that episode where the glass shatters and everyone all of a sudden realizes everyone's quirks and goes crazy. Ooh. What was the moment that the glass shattered for you in terms of sustainability? What was the trigger for you to realize you had an interest and then triggered you to pursue it as a career?
In sustainability, I would say in environmental topic or field in general, I would say because at the beginning, when I was in high school, even when I was a kid, I worked on radio since I was 8, but maybe we will talk about it later. But eventually I did some radio when I was then in high school. I was in the radio club, and then I started studying journalism for 1 year after I graduated from high school. But at that point, I realized I really like everything related with earth science, like just to know how the planet and the nature works. For me, it was very interesting. And by that point, there was even though the topic was not as strong as it is right now, I think everyone, especially in the country I came from, I'm originally from Colombia. You know that we have a lot of biodiversity, and you know that maybe we have been like not using it in the better way that we could. So then seeing all of this happening in my own region and in my own place made me reflect about the fact maybe I want to work on this. Also, I remember that many people, when I said my career, they said something like, yeah, this is the career of the future, which I thought it was quite accurate. And I really liked that concept at that moment. And of course, I feel like it was a very good decision. And then eventually when I started working and when I did my internship in Barranquilla, the city of Shakira, a parenthesis, just for everyone to know. Yeah, so when I started working,
small claim to fame.
No big deal. And then I started working with GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems. And then I realized, I really like this data thing, like gathering data and using data to get like the best or to find out the best possible solutions for things. So I think that's where everything started. And then it came I moved to Spain, and then I started with all of this LCA topic and in general. So I think that's more or less the journey. I think I could have explained it better, but I think this is good enough.
That's a good explanation as to why you are our what do we call you? Our data queen.
I'm not gonna say queen, but it's fine. I mean, I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah,
such an amazing background. Really interesting how you've gone from Colombia to Spain, and now you're in Sweden. And I love that you've got a background in radio as well. Very cool. Cool. Well,
what about you, Caitlyn?
So as you might have heard in our trailer episode, I'm a self-proclaimed Aust-American. I'm a little bit like a few expat millennials, a little bit lost, maybe going through a bit of an identity crisis, perhaps.
Your identity is international.
Yeah, I am a worldly citizen. We all are.
Yeah.
If only there was a passport to reflect that. That would be fantastic. So I was born and raised in Wisconsin, USA, one of the flyover states. It is beautiful though, and I really loved having my upbringing. Was raised on a farm and sort of out in the country, so had a bit more of a connection with nature. Helped my nana, veggies and fruits in the garden, and mostly just ate the raspberries. But I actually in middle school, a teacher asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was really stressed. I thought I had to have an answer at that point. I think this was in 6th or 7th grade, and at the time I was playing sport. I was really heavily involved in softball, and I was seeing a physio at that time, and I thought, oh, well, that it seems like a nice profession. You get to help people. Seems like they're healthy and active. So I'm going to pick that. And so I put my hand up and said, yes, I'm going to be a physio. And I spoke it. From then on, I spoke it out into the universe. And I had to do it. I said I was going to do it. I had to do it. So from middle school all the way into, through uni, I did everything that I needed to do to basically become a physio. And in that time, that journey brought me to I did a year abroad in Australia and loved it. It was the first time I was experiencing all these different cultures. I had Thai food for the first time. Crazy. And I was exposed. It wasn't quite when I uncovered my sustainability path, but I was exposed to this cultural explosion, and I couldn't go back to not having that in my life again. So I did end up going back for a couple of years to finish my degree, but I was so dead set, as we say in Australia. I was dead set on going back to Australia and going back to where I felt truly at home in myself. I became a doctor of physio. I worked for 7 years, but it wasn't really all it was cracked up to be. I got into the first day. I went, oh, is this all it is? I kind of wanted to. I don't know what I wanted to do, but I know it wasn't really exciting me. I love,
but that was when you were like working for the first time, or it was more like the internship. Like working for the first time was not the same as you expected when you were studying.
Yeah, because when you're doing your work studies and your internships and your placements, you're not really focused on performing and doing the best that you can do. And but when you're actually doing it, you kind of slowly realize that, oh, maybe I should have paid attention to those gut feelings earlier. But that's okay. There are aspects. It was a great job, but it just wasn't my passion. And long story short, I actually owe my whole sustainability journey. This is a little shout out to Grace in Melbourne. She was sort of the tree hugger of the group, right? She worked as a zookeeper at a sanctuary, worked with Tassie Devils. And we went camping one time. And we were kind of poking some fun at her, and she just kind of casually said, well, you guys are lucky I'm not making you collect scrunchy plastic. And for whatever reason, that was my trigger. Okay. And I thought, it's so simple, but why don't I know about it? It should be something so common. And I went home and I researched everything I could. What else could I recycle? And I became sort of this like little bin police girl. I was monitoring everything that was going into the bins that my roommates were throwing in there. It got pretty intense. I decided I moved out. I really, really went to town on my zero waste journey. And then, of course, COVID hit, which was obviously a curse for the majority of it, but also a silver lining, I think, for a lot of people. It gave me time to reflect on what I was doing with my life or what I wanted to do. And so I went down this rabbit hole of wanting to get into sustainability and end up meeting some pretty great like-minded people. And we founded this co-founded this not-for-profit called Rethink Recycling Co-op. And it was basically for community-based recycling. And at the time I was working in aged care. And so I ended up bringing concepts into the aged care and saw really amazing results, especially with people living with dementia and disabilities. And then decided, okay, I need to make this career transition official. And I went into local government and then realized that there's a bit of a ceiling effect in Australia when it comes to how much you can learn and do in terms of sustainability and circularity. And then I made the decision to move to the EU in the Netherlands, where I'm joining you now, and founded the Waste Not Spot. And yeah, here I am. And here we are.
Amazing journey.
Yeah.
This is an amazing journey. I'm really, I think it will be really inspiring for so many people. And I'm curious to ask particularly about that stage when you decided to fully transition to sustainability. How were you sure that it's the right thing to do, especially after years in like physiotherapy and spending like maybe I don't know, 1/3 or 1/4 of your career in another different like field?
Yeah, I did sort of gloss over that, didn't I? I was doing so much outside of work. So I was full-time in aged care, or became full-time in aged care. Also was doing sport physio on the side, looking after an Australian rules football team. So plus doing this co-op stuff. And I was bringing all these sustainability things into the aged care, and I loved that way more. I got way more excited than I did about doing my actual physio work. As a side note, there's so many ethical issues involved in aged care in Australia and around the world. Australia isn't the only one guilty of it, but that was bringing these sustainability things, like for example, we were getting residents with dementia to sort through bottle caps, and people with dementia that were notoriously hard to engage in meaningful activities were actually starting to participate. They maybe forgot what their daughter's name or where they were, but they knew red goes in the red bucket. They still knew that.
Wow.
So I guess it got to a point where I was doing more of the volunteer sustainability stuff than I was my own physio role. And I realized that that's not fair to the residents. Obviously, they're getting benefit out of this other stuff, but it wasn't fair to the residents, wasn't fair to me. I felt someone else that was super, super passionate about aged care physio could come in and give the physio treatment that was required. And then I could go out and, put my passion and motivation into something that could maybe potentially impact them plus others.
True.
So, so it kind of was like it reached that tipping point where I was like, I've got to let go. Time to fly, baby.
Yeah, true.
But enough about me. Sorry, I feel like that took forever. Said, we want to hear about you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally.
I can relate to you because I have also transitioned. So I have background in mineral engineering. And after my graduation, I worked in the mining sector. But I think what helped me, or how did it happen, is when I was working as a consultant for mining sector. I tackled upon some aspects related to environmental impact and also like pollution, underground water, pollution and so on and so forth. And during that period, it was also about some key people that I met, worked with, and they were already, of course, ahead, and they explained to me, and I learned from them the importance of being in this area of environmental sustainability. I think that was the focus in the beginning, and then also if you, I once I learned more and more about sustainability, I realized that there is a lot to do, and it's also part of the future and how we will do business in the future. And so in 2021, I decided to do a master's to focus on sustainability. And so it did happen in Europe, in Belgium and Sweden as an exchange program. And then I ended up majoring in sustainable entrepreneurship. And my interest has been always to like keep my engineering background useful, and then add something on top of it, like especially sustainability, business models, circularity, and so on and so forth. And I think I'm still today able to use both in my role as a consultant. And I think this engineering spirit is needed to understand the supply chain the supply chain and the product management at the company level, and then also how you can react or interact with people from companies. You're not always meeting with sustainability experts or even sustainability aware people. So you have to adapt. So it's good. And actually my first job was a summer job when I was 18 years old in a mining company. And there I witnessed really the impact of industry, especially the mining sector. Basically the amount of waste created, depletion of underground water, and also air pollution. Not to mention like the toxic elements and chemicals used in the treatment of metals. And that led me to do engineering. But then I realized that that's something that we cannot fix with just engineering, but we need to really incorporate sustainability in the business. And I think this is something that is becoming today not a nice to have, but rather really a key element in doing business. And yeah, and moving forward to really a sustainable future. Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep it short. Yeah.
Well, what was your shattered glass moment? Like, what triggered you to be like, sustainability, this is it? Like, was there anything? Was it sort of insidious, or was there a key thing that happened?
I think one of the elements is like this story of where I came from, because I grew up in a mining district in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, and there we have a lot of mining activity. And since I was a kid, and before even the generations before, they had really they've been really impacted with mining companies' activities around them, and mainly like water scarcity and also pollution. And this is something that I always like relate to, because I think I need to try to do something about it. Not specifically there, but if I try to contribute, it's great, because it's really a worldwide issue. Like if we hear about mining in Africa in general, or South America, or I think in Australia as well, there are a lot of mining activities. So everyone is really questioning, is it worthwhile, given like the huge impacts generated by those activities. And I think maybe another element is when I was working as a consultant for mining sector, one company that was looking to open a new site in Morocco, I've asked for environmental impact permit, like acceptance. And I think since 2017, if I'm not wrong, and it was still ongoing, I think, until I think last year, they still have not gotten it.
Wow.
And this is because it became more challenging to really demonstrate that you are really, your project is environmentally friendly, or at least that the damages are really as minimum as they should be in our current world standards.
Yeah.
And therefore, during that time, I realized that this is gonna be a big thing in the future. And this just given the context that I was in Morocco. So the regulatory, I think, framework for this for environmental sustainability in other countries, I think, especially in Europe, is much advanced, much more advanced, and therefore there is a lot to do, and also to cover more topics, and also I liked honestly to be in an international context. I wanted to see my work, or also my country, from a different lens worldwide, and also to seek experience beyond borders, and exchange with other I think friends, like colleagues and classmates who became friends later on. And that was really, I think, big learning for me, and interesting experience. So yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like a combination.
Yeah, I have a question for both of you guys, and then I can reply. But more or less, my question is, now that you have talked about your background, where you come from, where all of this like sustainability passion came from also, can you talk a bit more about like your dreams? Let's say if you can be a bit delusional here.
Lulu.
Maybe eventually, like maybe later on this first episode, we will discuss a bit about the objective and why we decided to make this podcast, and why this team also. I think it will be very good for the people listening to us to know. But then let's start with our dreams a bit. Like if you can be a bit delulu, you don't have to be completely delusional now on the first episode. I totally understand that. You guys, like Said and Caitlyn, what do you think would be your biggest, whether you call it dream, goals, not only with this specific podcast, but in general in your journey with sustainability? What could you say about it?
Said?
Ladies first.
Ah, okay. All right. I'll keep it short.
No, you don't have to.
My dream is to mainstream sustainability, because at the moment, sustainability is sort of like reserved for those weird hippies over there that like are just causing a ruckus, right? Or it's a checkbox that you have to tick. I want it to be a lens through which we all make decisions. So every purchase we make, every decision we make, I want it to be through a lens of sustainability and how it's impacting on the planet, our environment, but also on the lives of people around the world, potentially even our neighbors. So yeah, mainstreaming sustainability, helping break down the complex things into smaller, easier to understand concepts. Yeah.
Okay, great. What about you, Said?
Great. For me, I would say social and environmental justice
Yeah.
on a global level. I think, and this is actually heavy linked to economic growth or the economic state of each nation. Unfortunately, it's not the case today. There is a lot to do at even like regional level or state level to mobilize resources also in the right way at the right time to ensure that we actually regain some balance between regions like the north and the south, for instance. I think we're using resources from the south to build the north.
Yeah.
And
When you say north versus south, are you talking about like the global majority, or what we would refer to as the third world or the developing countries?
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So exactly, and of course, even though we claim a lot of in like in Europe, for instance, we claim a lot of advancement in sustainability. But still, what we are doing to the other part of the world is probably is already taking like all the upside of what you're doing or you're claiming to do, and it's really compensated in the other part of the world.
Yeah.
So
someone's paying the price somewhere, right?
Exactly, someone paying the price. Like maybe give like a very I think maybe practical example. I think Denmark, for instance, I think they were classified as maybe the at least top waste generator per capita, I think. Well, Denmark maybe does not. It's maybe clean. It's maybe most sustainable probably country probably in Europe. But then consumerism is a huge issue, and when you talk about consumerism, consumption, it's like it's coming. All the products and services are coming from abroad, and we all know where they come from. So, and then if you don't rethink where this is come from and what impact it generates, and is it fair, and yeah, this is questions to ask. So this is my sort of dream.
Social justice, social and environmental justice.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about you, Angelica?
Angelica, yeah.
What is your Delulu?
Okay, well, I would say I started this journey, as I mentioned before, because I just wanted to understand, basically. I think that my dream was always to understand the nature and its cycles in the best possible way. I think that's why it resonates so much when we finally decide the name Millennials Gone Circular, because for me, circularity, it's not only like the technical concept that we use now, it's also like nature itself works, right? Like everything is about cycles, the water, the soil, the air, everything is about cycles in nature. And also even like the first law of thermodynamic, like matter and energy, they don't create or destroy, they just transform. So everything in some way in nature is always telling us everything is a cycle, right? So I think for me, my biggest dream has always been understanding. And I think that's why if I could put it in more I don't know, in more in the physical world, I will say the reason why I also think this podcast is so important for me personally is because it's understanding what things we have been doing since we create this concept of sustainability as society, and then we put a bit more like scientific studies and methods on it, and finally the results that we have got so far after many decades of working with it, all the things that they basically didn't work, and all the things that actually worked, understanding it in a better way and see and understand in the best possible and more objective way why they didn't work, for example, and the things that we did right, why they did work, but especially why some solutions that we create that we thought would be scalable, they basically weren't, and why some solutions they actually were scalable, right? So I think my biggest Delulu dream would be to understand it properly, because I think we have misunderstood so many things about nature throughout this journey of sustainability and humanity. So basically, my dream is to understand as much as possible, because I think that's also the aim of science and many things. Like, there's no way that we can have the right solutions if we don't ask ourselves the right questions, and there is no way to ask the right questions if we cannot have, yeah, like a more holistic and full overview of everything, right? So yeah, that would be my Delulu dream.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's not very Delulu, though, I should say. I think it's realistic. Realistic.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
No, I don't think. I mean, there has been like many like smartest people in the world that have been trying to understand the universe and the world for like centuries now, and they haven't got it. So I don't see like why should I got it, but still, that's a very good dream for me. So maybe then I would say maybe the other question that I will have for you guys also, it's
Good question.
exactly. So based on your own dreams, what do you think that you have to offer to the world, right? Because I think that's a very existential question of us millennials now, because I think maybe previous generations, they didn't have the opportunity to question themselves. What can I offer to the world that it's basically the best of me, my best skill, my best knowledge, whatever they think it is? But they didn't even have the opportunity to question that, because how the world was working at that moment, they just most probably were put in a specific position, whatever it was, like the job that gave us some money so they can buy some food for their family, or different kind of situations, circumstances, and contexts, that it was completely out of our power. And I think that a huge privilege that we have in our generation is that we can decide what we want to do with our life, and we can explore ourselves what's the best we can offer to society. So based on your own dreams, what do you think that it's the best that you can offer to society in order to achieve that dream? Skills, knowledge, whatever you think is the best.
Oh, this is going deep.
Yeah.
Said?
Yeah, you can start.
Honestly, this is really a hard question to answer. It's well, I think my I would say my learning is to actually try to convert my learning and my experiences from the past and leverage that if I can to improve things around me in my like in my role where I work, and also like day-to-day life, just interacting with people, and try to share what I got and what I think is best practice or the right thing to do. And then I think maybe later on is maybe I think also this podcast will be part of it, is to share and try to um, probably teach others, or not teach, but maybe guide and share experiences and how the new generations will benefit from it. I think this because the maybe past generation, they didn't have access to this technology. This is maybe what we can leverage today to go to share and be more connected from different part of the world, and especially like three of us are like from three different continents. So it's interesting to have these different perspectives and also share them with the people from around the globe, and hopefully they will be useful. So I would like summarize it in experience, knowledge, maybe expertise, sharing, and yeah.
I would say that's like those are. I want to steal those, but you've already said them, so I'll build on them. Knowledge and experience, yes, but I would also like to build connections, because like we're in a world that we just consume, like we talked about before, we just consume a lot of stuff all the time, and I feel like we have grown a bit more disconnected because it's just easier to not be face to face. It's easier not to have that personal in person or even a call. It's just easier to send a message or an email. But I think that kind of distances us. And I think that's why I really was excited to build this podcast and build a sense of community with people that we can share our perspectives and our knowledge and our experiences from all around the world, share about what's happened or what's happening, what things they're struggling with or we're all struggling with in our different regions, what things have worked, but also understanding why they've worked. I think, Angelica, you touched on this before, understanding why something worked in that particular context and how we might be able to apply it to a different context. But yeah, address maybe making some changes so it's relevant to that region. But I think, yeah, building connections is just top of the list for me, because we all have to be, there's a great quote, we all have to be doing something, I'm paraphrasing, we all have to be doing something imperfectly, not a few people doing it perfectly. And I think that's just, I really, really love that. And I keep trying to keep my own journey in mind, because I was once someone just going about my day, living in this like naive bubble, and there's no judgment to anyone who is currently in that stage in their journey. But I know what it's like to be on both sides of the coin, not caring about sustainability and caring about sustainability, and then being really passionate about it. So trying to, make sure that I want this podcast and our experiences to be available for people who are a little bit interested or really wanting to know everything about sustainability. And we can offer, some knowledge, some basic foundational stuff, but also kind of progress through some more complex topics, how to actually take action. I think that's the biggest thing, is connections, helping people take action.
Well,
I
it's
could have
not mine anymore.
But we got there.
What about you, Angelica?
I would say, if I could say one thing that I think that I can offer to society, is like, I really like to put like complex things that they look very messy, complex, and blah blah blah, and then put it in something in a way that is very easy to grasp for absolutely everyone. And I think Albert Einstein was the one who said it. If you cannot put it simply or explain it simply, you don't understand it fully. So I think I'm a bit like, that's a bit of my mantra, or one of my mantras. I think we all have many mantras,
that comes well together with your dream earlier. You're looking forward to understand, and now you want complex, and then topics, issues, and then try to translate them and make them simple. That's great connection.
Yeah, and I think many people has achieved it already. For example, Carl Sagan, he was one of the best like astrophysicists in the world, I think, at least. And he actually managed it with this, like, I don't know if you watch this TV series that at that moment I watched it on VHS, Millennials. But
were you kind and rewind?
But yeah, I watched it on VHS, when I was like, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, and I thought, that was one of the most amazing things that I have seen in my life. And I think everyone that watched that series or documentary, because I think that's more considered a documentary, talked the same. Because basically what he did was to take all the like huge and complex concepts of like astronomy and physics and put it so simple that even like a 7-year-old kid could understand it.
Yeah.
I think that will be a bit what I feel at this point in life. I could offer a bit because I have been doing it quite a lot in life. And that's why I think I could offer it at this point. Of course, there's many people better than me at this, and I hope I can learn from them a lot. But at this point, I feel like I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I like to see messy things and chaos, because I think that after that, it comes some order. So, yeah. So that's what I think it will be. What I can.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So why we don't move on like to really maybe the big question of this first episode.
The elephant in the room.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Why millennials? Why this podcast is for millennials? I would start maybe with Caitlyn.
Yeah. Well, I think for starters, we all self-identify as millennials. Is that right? I was right in saying that.
Yeah.
So millennials at the moment are, well, firstly, we can relate because we are millennials, but also we're getting older. I hate to admit it, but we're getting older. And it means at the moment, millennials actually make up the biggest percentage of the global workforce by generation. So there's a big opportunity. And because we're getting older, sadly, we're also maybe not so sadly stepping into positions where we can actually make these decisions and impact change from within the company or the business or organization. Whatever you're doing, we can make sustainable impact from that. So I think that's the main reason, is that it's up to us as a generation to kick things into high gear, and we've got the opportunity to do it. That's the reason.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like, because I feel all generations have done good and bad things. I mean, in the sense of like all generations, they have offer something amazing for the next ones. And I just feel like as millennials, we are just the next one on the queue, like just by age, we are just the next ones that are like, forming families, educating the new generation, which is like for the people that already have kids. So that's why our role is becoming more and more clear now. Also like managerial positions, executive positions, just because of our like age at this point of life. Of course, we are becoming like more and more like adults, even though technically speaking, like all millennials, we have been adults for a while now.
I'm still a child.
Yeah, exactly. Let's refuse that reality. No, I'm kidding. We're adults.
To put it together, I think it's like it's our time, and we are in charge, like taking over. I think in terms of like different positions from like technical politics, sustainability roles, and also social and environmental aspects.
Yeah. But I do want to add one thing, just because we are millennials talking to millennials, it's, if you come from a different generation and this is relevant to you, please, like, you're welcome. It's not meant to exclude anyone. It's just, we're just going based off the fact that that's where the low-hanging fruit is in terms of ability to make impact around the world. So yeah, please don't think that just because you're just over the mark or from way in a different generation that this isn't relevant to you, because it absolutely is. We all have to work together generationally, cross-regionally. It doesn't matter. We all have to. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that for the older generations, basically, I imagine that this could be like very relevant, because this will be the word that you will leave to your kids, grandkids, and your like next generations. And for the youngest generations, like Gen Z and the ones that are coming, it's because this is the word that basically we're leaving for you. So yeah, I think it could be relevant for everyone also. I totally agree with Caitlyn.
Yeah, indeed. So what do you think would be like the aim of this podcast, and how we can really support and also unveil like or what discussion we'll share in the future for our audience?
Well, I think in the first few episodes, we'll sort of get into the very basics, the foundational things that we need to know about sustainability, circularity. So the next episode, we'll get stuck into sustainability because it's quite a buzzword, right? You can just
Indeed,
companies and everyone's just throwing around the word, but what is it actually? What's the origin? What does it mean? What's involved? And then there's the word circularity. I mean, that's the same thing, another buzzword, circular economy, but what does it mean? How did it evolve? And how do they both relate? Because they're not the same thing. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So things like that will be getting into our values and the SDGs and the IDGs and all of these acronyms that everyone's throwing around there. And what we want to do is make it easy to understand. And then we'll start getting into more complex things and different topics. And, what can you do? If you're an electrician, I'm just picking something out of my head. What can you do in your current role if you don't want to go through transitioning careers, moving countries? What in your role, just in your daily operations, to be just that much more sustainable, and circular? So I think that's what we can expect. Sorry, Said?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in other words, I think we'll start with some basics to set the scene, and we will move on gradually to more complex topics. And yeah, Angelica, do you have other topics in mind that really interests you and you would like to discuss in the future?
Yeah, I think as you guys mentioned before, basically just start with the basics because as we have discussed previously, the idea is to take you guys or listeners through more or less our journey and the questions that have arisen for us that maybe also you can relate with. So in my case, for example, since I like a lot of data and these kind of related topics, for me, it's super interesting to understand how this artificial intelligence, even quantum computing, the applications that it could have for sustainability, climate change sciences, and so on. So I think all of this, going from basics to very complex topics, could be something amazing that we can.
I'm very much looking forward to you helping us understand quantum
computing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an expert, and I feel even now one of the biggest experts on quantum physics, which is Michio Kaku. He is also a physicist, I think. Okay. He always said in his book and then in his podcast, he said, we don't understand about this, but we're doing our best. So don't stick.
I don't know what quantum means.
Yeah.
I also don't know what it means. You're not alone. We're there with you.
Yeah, exactly. But
the other day I watched a reel of a professor of quantum physics saying that I don't understand this. I'm gonna teach you something I don't understand. I don't think you will understand it either. But this is just the case. And we'll do it anyway.
We'll do it together. We'll get through it.
Yeah, we'll get through it. At least.
And by the way, we're opening the room for our audience and listeners to comment and send us the topic of interest, and we're happy to include them in the program on the planning.
Let us know what you want. Because there's so many, as you'll come to find out, there's so many topics. Sustainability is such a big, broad umbrella term, and there's so many topics that we can talk about. But let us know what is on your radar to understanding a bit better and to, gaining a better perspective and a regional, international perspective on as well. So I think we'll wrap it up there because I think it's just really nice to get to know your hosts. Who are these people that are going to be spouting facts and stories and perspectives into your ears over the next few episodes, but also to know what to expect and why we're doing this and where we're coming from. So with that, thank you for joining, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of something. So we are looking forward to all your comments, all your questions, and let's create this community. Millennials Gone Circular.
Yeah. See you next time.
Well,
See you next time.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to our very first episode. Before we go, Millennials Gone Circular is a production of the Waste Not Spot. The Waste Not Spot recognizes the many traditional landowners around the world and their continued stewardship of our planet. We pay our respects and offer our deepest gratitude. You can follow us on Instagram at The Waste Not Spot or join the Facebook and LinkedIn groups at Millennials Gone Circular. We'll see you all next time.